We have started to record the final session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Thursday, June 26th, 2025. 5 weeks of instruction, 19 instructor course videos goes by very quickly. I can identify with the time management issues all of you have been facing over the past month or so. When I was an undergraduate at North Dakota State University, I also took my basic public speaking course during the summer. There were two major differences. One, it was face to face, not online, and two, it was Monday through Friday, beginning at 7:30 a.m. So for all of you, I congratulate you on the quality of your work with demonstrating, informing, persuading, and with the wildcard presentations. We will also today examine your self-evaluation speech critiques, look at the rest of the wildcard video presentations, and then at the end of class, I will go back to Blackboard one last time. I should mention that grades will be posted on Campus Connect no later than Monday of next week at 10 a.m. I can't guarantee that the scores will be updated on Blackboard immediately. I believe all of you should have at least Thursday and Friday until 11:59 p.m. on Friday to access this course on Blackboard. So you can watch the videos. I'm also posting them on my YouTube channel, even though the quality of them is not quite as good as the originals that you can see right here in my Loom library. But let's continue on with wildcard speech videos for day 2, and also look at self-evaluation speech critiques. And that's where we're going to begin. You saw Maddie's presentation yesterday. Her wildcard speech was titled, "Why Teachers Should Receive Higher Salaries." And here is what she had to say for her self-evaluation speech critique. Quote, "When I first realized that this class was on my degree plan, I panicked a little. Speaking in front of a crowd has always been nerve-wracking for me. The thought of having to speak in front of others, knowing that I could stumble on my words, forget what I was talking about, or embarrass myself kept me away from public speaking for most of my life. But now, looking back, I am really proud of how hard I've worked and how comfortable I have become with speaking in front of others." One thing that stuck out to me the most about public speaking is that you have to plan and structure a speech before presenting it. When I first started this class, I thought that I could just write down a few points, wing it, and pray that I made a good grade. Now I understand why having a well thought out introduction, clear points, and a convincing conclusion is key to creating a successful speech. Once I figured this out, it became a lot easier to create my speeches and record them with less anxiety. Delivery was another important factor in presenting a quality speech. I was so focused on relaying my information that I didn't notice the speed, tone, or body language I was using during my speeches. As time went on, I became more confident in what I was talking about, which naturally helped me to make better eye contact and really focus on the points I was trying to make. I still get nervous about having to talk in front of an audience, but I have realized that the audience is there to help me become a better communicator, not judge me for my imperfections. I really surprised myself with how confident I became with speaking in front of others. I've learned how to become patient with myself and even going when I mess up. Nobody is going to be perfect, so I can't expect myself to never mess up, especially when I am nervous. At the beginning of this semester, I completely dreaded having to record myself every week, rewatch it in front of everyone, and take the criticism to make myself better. Now I am so thankful that I took this class because it helped me present myself better and become more confident with speaking in job interviews, class presentations, and even in everyday conversations. Overall, This class has opened my eyes to the importance of public speaking. At first, I was nervous, but over the course of these last couple of weeks, I have learned to endure the pressure and anxiety I had about public speaking and become a more confident version of myself. I'm leaving this class with real skills I know I'll use in the future. I'm really proud that I was able to step out of my comfort zone and become successful in this class. What Maddie is saying is reflective of what all of you said yesterday and those self evaluation speech critiques that we're going to be examining today. In fact, we are going to go to our first speaker, Amira, in just a moment. But before her wildcard speech presentation, let's go to my email address and show you her self evaluation speech critique. Whenever I click on preview, it will open right here. Here's what Amira had to say. Quote, before taking this course, it was uncomfortable for me to speak, whether that be in small conversations or in front of large groups. I wasn't confident in how I spoke, and I certainly didn't know what made a good speech. By taking this class, I hoped for a change in the way I felt when speaking. There has been a tremendous change. Every speech and piece of advice I've been given has helped me to become more confident and comfortable when I speak. Listening to other speeches also helped me to look at things from a different perspective. I assumed a person had to always be confident to successfully speak past courses such as this one, but what I did learn was that speaking can be learned and improved through enough practice. I've learned the importance of preparation and how it is important to truly understand the topic I'm speaking about by researching, outlining, and rehearsing. Preparation has also helped me to feel organized by being able to structure my presentation from the introduction to the conclusion. It has helped me to feel less lost for words when I speak. Taking this class has not only helped me to become a better speaker, but it has also helped me become more confident in myself and my abilities. I believe this will help me not only in school, but in every aspect of life. I enjoyed taking this class. Thank you, Professor Reppert. And Amira really has improved. And ideally, because I never watch these presentations in full until we put them on screen in class, that's going to come to the test right now. We will begin wildcard speech day 2 and session 19 of the first summer session with Amira's wildcard presentation titled The Concept of Happiness and Factors that Influence It, Understanding What Makes Us Truly Happy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amara Burns, and today we're diving into a topic that affects every one of us daily: happiness. We'll explore what happiness really means, the common myths about it, and the internal and external factors that influence our well being. So, the concept of happiness and factors that influence it. What is happiness? Happiness isn't just about being in a good mood, it's a deeper, more lasting feeling of contentment. Happiness is often divided into two types: hedonic, which is about pleasure and comfort, and eudaimonic, which comes from a sense of meaning and purpose. Both are important for a well-rounded life. So what is happiness? It is more than just a feeling or a smile. It's a lasting sense of well being, purpose, and fulfillment. And we already talked about the two types. Why does happiness matter? Why is it important? When we're happy, well, we're healthier, we're more productive, more creative. Happiness strengthens our relationships and helps us manage stress better. It's not just a feel good concept, it's essential for a thriving life. Okay, common misconceptions. So let's just clear up a few myths. Many believe money or success alone can bring happiness. Others think happiness is constant or something you're either born with or not. And the truth is, happiness is dynamic and it's influenced by our choices and our habits. So, money does not equal happiness, not necessarily. Happiness can be constant? No, not necessarily. You're not either born happy or not. It is changeable and it is influenced by our choices and our habits daily. Internal factors that influence happiness. So I listed four: mindset, purpose, self acceptance, and resilience. Mindset, optimism, and gratitude. Our outlook on things that happen. Are we grateful? Do we have a positive outlook or is it negative? Purpose, knowing your why. Why are you doing this? Self acceptance, being okay with imperfections. No one is perfect, so having a positive attitude about your imperfections will make you happier. And resilience, bouncing back from challenges, not letting your challenges overcome you, overcoming your challenges. Okay, external factors that influence happiness. And I also listed four: relationships, work and school, environment, and health. Our environment and social world matter too. So, supportive relationships, meaningful work, and a healthy lifestyle all contribute to our well being. Even small changes like spending time with friends or going for a walk can make a difference. So, relationships, quality connections over quantity, it's better to have about two or three close, genuine connections than a group of people that you don't genuinely connect with. Work and school, a sense of achievement and belonging. Environment, clean, safe, and inspiring surroundings. And health, physical well being boosts emotional well being too. There's a saying, when you look good, you feel good, and that is absolutely true. When you work on your physical well being, it's something that goes on inside too. It allows you to be happier, have better outlooks on life as well. The role of gratitude. Gratitude is powerful. Practicing it regularly helps us focus on what's going right, like right now, and the things that are going on right, even when life is hard. Studies show gratitude can increase happiness, reduce stress, and help us feel more satisfied with life. Try journaling or simply saying thank you, being grateful more often, and that will bring more happiness into your life. Okay, the big question: does money buy happiness? Okay, up to a point, I would say yes, it does. It provides stability and it reduces stress. And when you're stable and not stressed, you are happy. But I feel like once your basic needs are met, more money doesn't always mean more joy. It could bring problems as well. Instead, I feel like spending money on experiences and helping others has a greater impact because you're being selfless, you're helping more than yourself, and it makes you feel happy inside doing those things. Habits that promote happiness: exercising good sleep, time in nature, helping others, pursuing passions, and limiting screen time in comparison. So, happiness is supported by healthy habits, yes. Things like exercise, like I said, good sleep, spending time in nature, and also reducing your screen time can boost your mood. Like you could start small with maybe a walk or like have a few hours without your phone in the evening, and that can definitely improve how you feel. So, a few final thoughts: happiness is a journey, it's not a destination. It's not influenced by what we think or what we do and who we surround ourselves with. It's internal. And we can choose habits and mindsets that nourish long term joy. Just to wrap it all up, it's a journey. And it's not about being happy all the time, but just creating moments of joy, connection, and meaning. Thank you.
I jumped the gun just a little bit on pausing her before the video would recycle. Obviously, as you can see from everyone yesterday and Amira today, there's a lot of improvement when it comes to that level of self confidence in front of the camera. With that in mind, we will also, one more time with feeling, do what we have continued to pursue during the first summer session: examine the complete sentence structure with the closed captioning on, and Amira's ability to be extemporaneous, conversational, spontaneous, and confident on camera.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amara Burns, and today we're diving into a topic that affects every one of us daily: happiness. We'll explore what happiness really means, the common myths about it, and the internal and external factors that influence our well being. So, the concept of happiness and factors that influence it. What is happiness? Happiness isn't just about being in a good mood, it's a deeper, more lasting feeling of contentment. Happiness is often divided into two types: hedonic, which is about pleasure and comfort, and eudaimonic, which comes from a sense of meaning and purpose. Both are important for a well-rounded life. So what is happiness? It is more than just a feeling or a smile. It's a lasting sense of well being, purpose, and fulfillment. And we already talked about the two types. Why does happiness matter? Why is it important? When
And then while she's talking about why happiness is important, we should also pay attention to the way in which she is addressing the camera, as you saw with Serenity, with Charlie, with Maddie, with all of the folks who went yesterday. That level of self awareness obviously is important because you can tell here she has really practiced a lot because there aren't any true breaks in thought. There may be a spelling error somewhere down the line on a slide, but that's a minor thing. Because if you're going to be talking about the idea of happiness, that is important. And I will come back to one of her earlier slides because you always have to be careful if you're taking a screenshot or an image that you download and make it larger than 100% because it has a tendency to either pixelate or to get blurry. Let's go ahead and pause this, get close to her last minute, check out the strength of her conclusion and the quality of her delivery.
more than yourself, and it makes you feel happy inside doing those things. Habits that promote happiness: exercising good sleep, time in nature, helping others, pursuing passions, and limiting screen time in comparison. So, happiness is supported by healthy habits, yes. Things like exercise, like I said, good sleep, spending time in nature, and also reducing your screen time can boost your mood. Like you can start small with maybe a walk, or like have a few hours without your phone in the evening, and that can definitely improve how you feel. So a few final thoughts: happiness is a journey, it's not a destination. It's not influenced by what we think or what we do and who we surround ourselves with. It's internal, and we can choose habits and mindsets that nourish long term joy. Just to wrap it all up, it's a journey. And it's not about being happy all the time, but just creating moments of joy, connection, and meaning. Thank you.
She encapsulates her conclusion quite well when you consider these three bullet points where happiness is a journey. You're influenced by what we think. Choose habits and mindsets that are going to nourish long term joy. It's not that dissimilar, gang, to a class like this. If you go into it with a positive attitude, it may not necessarily be perfect, but you continue to plug away day by day. And I can tell you, as a professor with many years of experience, I will go back and watch all of my videos. During the pandemic, I had close to 450 videos like this, live to video, and then posting them on Blackboard, with many of them also available on my YouTube channel. You need to always have a positive outlook, even if things aren't necessarily going your way. Let's take off the closed captioning and just scroll back and look at her design consistency. I'm not sure what's going on there in terms of spelling, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. For all of you, whenever you're giving presentations after this class is complete, going on to either other academic courses or in your professional lives, always double check spelling if you're not certain, and then double check again. The role of gratitude, I thought she did that pretty well. Mindfulness, saying thank you, not necessarily being selfish. And then, of course, any external factors that influence happiness. She talked about that very well. So she's not writing in a complete sentence structure, which allows her down here to be extemporaneous, conversational, and most importantly, for a topic like this, how are you going to be relatable as a public speaker? And that's where the mindset comes into play. Optimism and gratitude, internal factors that influence happiness. We've all been around people who are just incredibly negative. And then as we move back, some of the misconceptions. This is a small thing, but whenever you're in classes like this or you're working on projects on Loom, always keep in mind where your webcam is and work your headlines or your text around it so it's not going to be obscured. It's got no bearing on her grade here. In fact, in Amira's case, the one thing I wished, and I don't know what her presets are on Loom, that her webcam be a little bit bigger. Where you decide to have it, in a corner or not, of course, totally up to you. This is what I was referring to a moment ago with this particular graphic. You have to be careful when you download something and then put it on either a PowerPoint or a Google Slides or a Canva. You don't want to take the graphic and make it any bigger because it might have a tendency to be a little bit blurry or, like I said, to pixelate. Not a big thing here, but perfection or striving to achieve it does matter. But describing these types of happiness was certainly a strong strategy. And there she is at the beginning of the presentation, exuding from the webcam a level of professionalism. So we'll go ahead and mute the audio. There is her transcript on the right-hand side. And Amira, you obviously have improved as a public speaker. Now, we will move on to our second presenter of the day. But before we do that, I want to go to her email address, and you're going to see Alyssa's email for her wildcard presentation. And I wanted to read what she has here because as of right now, I do not have her self-evaluation speech critique. But this is what she wrote directly over the item for her presentation on Loom. Hello, this is my wildcard speech. It was fun and stressful to take your class during this summer session. Thank you so much for the opportunity to express myself with these presentations. Although I was always nervous about them, I have learned how not to let fear hold me back. So for right now, that is a preface to a self-evaluation speech critique. But when you're sending me these emails, oftentimes this is what it's going to look like. And then I'll have all of the links ready to play them, ideally in a particular order during class. Now we're going to move on to Alyssa's wildcard speech. Second of the day, as like you saw with Amira, she sent me her file through the email and then I uploaded it to my Loom library. In this case, all I had to do was to access the link. So what Alyssa is going to be doing is unique, which is fine for a wildcard presentation. And her topic is titled Paper Airplanes 101.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Oliveira. This is Summer Session 1 Wildcard Speech on Paper Airplanes. So to introduce, paper airplanes are a fun and simple way to explore the basic principles of flight using a sheet of paper. By folding paper into different shapes, we can create models that glide through the air, mimicking real aircraft. While they might seem like just a childhood pastime, paper airplanes actually demonstrate important concepts like gravity. They're also a great way to experiment with aerodynamics and design. There are different types of planes that people can make. Distance-based, where their goal is to fly far and fast as possible. Their build is sleek, narrow, and aerodynamic. They usually have pointed noses and straight wings to reduce drag. Used in competition for long flight distance. There's glider and stability-based. Their goal is to stay in the air as long as possible. Their build are wider wings to help create lift and to slow the descent. They're designed for smooth and stable flights with gentle landings. Often affected by air currents, but they are fun to play with indoors. There are stunt trick based. Goal is to do flips, loops, or cool tricks. Their build is unusual folds or wing shape for creative motion. Focus is often on fun design and experimentation. It's great for learning how small changes affect flight behavior. In 5 simple steps, you too can make a simple but effective paper airplane. But you'll need an 8.5 by 11 standard printer paper, which is required to make the paper airplane, a pen or pencil, which is optional, ruler, which is optional to make straighter lines, scissors, optional to make smoother edged, markers, stickers, or crayons to design it. So step 1 is to fold in half vertically to make a crease, unfold it to create a center line. Step 2 is to fold the top corners to the center and take the top left corner and fold it down to meet the center crease. You repeat with the top right corner. Step 3 is to fold the plane in half along the original crease. The folds are on the inside. Step 4 is to make the wings. Fold down each side to make wings and leave some space at the bottom. Step 5 is to adjust and fly. Make sure the wings are even and flat and you are ready to fly your plane. But which one to make? There are dart planes, which their design features sharp nose, a narrow body, and small wings. They're built for speed and distance. Their flight behaviors is they fly fast in a straight line and good for long distance throws. Their strength is their aerodynamics and easy to aim. And its weakness is it drops quickly if not thrown correctly, and it doesn't stay in the air very long. The glider plane, its design features wide wings, flat nose, and more surface area, and is built for a slow and stable flight. Their flight behavior, they fly slowly and gently and glide for a longer time through the air. Their strength is they're good for flight duration, and they have a stable and forgiving design. Their weakness is it doesn't go very far and is very sensitive to draft or uneven wings. In conclusion, there are many different types of paper airplanes, from the simple gliders to complex stunt planes, each with its own unique design and purpose. Different designs affect how planes fly. Some go far, some spin, and others do cool tricks in the air. Making paper airplanes is all about experimenting, learning, and having fun with physics and creativity. It's totally okay if your airplane isn't perfect. Every plane is special in its own way, and each one teaches you something new. Thank you. Paper airplanes are each their own unique thing, and making one should be special to you and every person that creates one. Even though it's just a pastime hobby, a lot of people do this competitively and even earn money for it. While a lot of people may think paper airplanes aren't that important, I think they are to the culture because they're more fun and they teach people about simple ways that physics interacts with us. So, thank you for listening to my speech.
I'm not sure why her webcam keeps jumping back and forth, but I'm going to be very lenient about that because, as we saw from our early self-evaluation speech critiques from today, technology can be challenging to examine, especially in a compressed period of time. So she decided to have fun with her topic and do it with a nice breezy pacing. Let's examine her first minute, not only from the complete sentence perspective, but also is she improving in terms of her delivery and level of confidence, because those were elements that she addressed in her self-evaluation speech critique. So here is Alyssa's introduction.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Oliveris. This is Summer Session 1 Wildcard Speech on Paper Airplanes. So to introduce, paper airplanes are a fun and simple way to explore the basic principles of flight using a sheet of paper. By folding paper into different shapes, we can create models that glide through the air, mimicking real aircraft. While they might seem like just a childhood pastime, paper airplanes actually demonstrate important concepts like gravity. They're also a great way to experiment with aerodynamics and design. There are different types of planes that people can make. Distance-based, where their goal is to fly far and fast as possible. Their build is sleek, narrow, and aerodynamic. They usually have pointed noses and straight wings to reduce drag. Used in competition for long flight distance. There's glider and stability-based. Their goal is to stay in the air as long as possible. Their build are wider wings to help create lift and to slow the descent. They're designed for smooth and stable flights with gentle landings. Often affected by air currents, but they are fun to play with.
So as we go by the first minute of Alyssa's speech, it really is fascinating. And I wanted to play this all the way through for this particular slide because there is, now that you've seen all of them on the right-hand side, those three images, think about the aerodynamics of each of those paper airplanes as opposed to what you might see from private airplanes or something that might be a commercial airliner. There's a reason why things are set up the way they are. There's a misspelling here on briefing. It should be BRIEF. But now let's go ahead and pause, go into roughly the last minute, and see how she is wrapping this up. But again, if you want to have fun with the topic, that's certainly appropriate. How is she concluding this?
They have a stable and forgiving design. Their weakness is it doesn't go very far and is very sensitive to draft or uneven wings. In conclusion, there are many different types of paper airplanes, from the simple gliders to complex stunt planes, each with its own unique design and purpose. Different designs affect how planes fly. Some go far, some spin, and others do cool tricks in the air. Making paper airplanes is all about experimenting, learning, and having fun with physics and creativity. It's totally okay if your airplane isn't perfect. Every plane is special in its own way, and each one teaches you something new. Thank you. Paper airplanes are each their own unique thing, and making one should be special to you and every person that creates one. Even though it's just a pastime hobby, a lot of people do this competitively and even earn money for it. While a lot of people may think paper airplanes aren't that important, I think they are to the culture because they're more fun and they teach people about simple ways that physics interacts with us. So, thank you for listening to my speech.
I like the way she concludes because it is something that you can have fun with and learn aerodynamics, something that we don't necessarily always think about from a learning perspective. We think about somebody in study hall throwing a paper airplane, but what about the design of the plane? What type of paper or stronger paper are you using? All of that comes into play, and that's why when you examine her visuals, whether it be, let me take off the closed captioning, whether it be the conclusion with the 4 bullet points. And the third one I think is most relevant, quoting, making paper airplanes is all about experimenting, learning, and having fun with physics and creativity. True. Looking at the design consistency now on which one to make, whether it be the dart plane or the glider plane, looking at strengths or weaknesses. And there are competitions around the world every year on these types of things. The methodology, because sometimes you'll try to throw it and it goes straight down, which is not a good sign. And there you have some of the standards that you need. What are some of the types of planes? And let me move up just a little bit so we can see the third visual. As I was talking about before, her design consistency is very attractive. The bullet points give her the ability to be spontaneous. If I wanted to give her a slight bit of constructive criticism, I would say you can slow your delivery down just a little bit. It's a minor thing. I always have a tendency to speak fast as well. Showing all of these, however, is really appropriate, especially the world record, which looks more like, if you've ever flown, an L-1011 because it's really, really wide commercial jetliner. And then moving back to the introduction, where she is setting it up and talking about how it can be fun, mimic real aircraft, and most importantly, being able to learn. That is Alyssa. So we have had 2 presentations for the day. I want to go to Kara's self-evaluation speech critique prior to showing her presentation, which is going to be coming up third. Here's what Kara had to say. She puts it, like everyone else, pretty much on one page. So let's go ahead and read this for the record. Here is Kara, quote, "This summer, I took the challenge of taking the Intro to Speech course despite never having to create and present a speech. And I have grown in more ways than one over the summer. I have grown quite a bit in my ability to present my presentations and my ability to create good content, my ability to deliver the speech, and my ability to create wonderful visuals. My content has improved greatly this summer. While my presentations are simple, they are very to the point, which I believe is very important when it comes to speeches. My speeches, while very to the point, have information that is valuable to what I was speaking about, whether it's mental health, autism, diamond painting, or taekwondo. My information is credible. My delivery has greatly improved since the beginning of the course. I used to stutter quite a bit, but now I stutter less than when the course started. My ability to speak without pausing has gotten a lot better as well. I have gotten better at speaking in public as well thanks to this course. My visuals have gotten very good as well. While I do not create my own visuals, I am now able to explain the diagrams I have placed in my presentations, which I believe is as impressive as creating visuals myself. My presentation colors are simple, with being differently colored gradients, but I believe they are all still impressive. This class has shown me that no matter how hard the assignment, I can do well as long as I put my mind into said assignment. This class has greatly helped me with my public speaking, not only with speeches, but also with normal communication. I believe the skills I have earned through this class will further help me in my life. And that's something that I continually reinforce. The way in which you're practicing, the way in which you are watching yourself and self evaluating is only going to be positive when you are outside of this class giving academic presentations as a student or in the professional world. Having some self awareness or self perception is the reason that I changed from students in either my online or face to face speech courses evaluating everyone. I want you to be singularly focused on how you individually as a student can improve with that triad of content, delivery, and visuals. So we go from Kara's self evaluation speech critique to her final presentation, where she is discussing what autism is all about. Think about what she was mentioning in her self evaluation speech critique, and is she taking the lessons she has learned to heart in terms of overall improvement in these 19 class sessions? So, this is Kara's wildcard.
My name is Kara Bowden, and this is what autism is all about. Autism is a developmental condition that affects how people interact with others, communicate, and learn. While a lot of people have autism, not everyone has the exact same level. There are also categories for the autism spectrum, and this diagram is of the autism spectrum categories. What are the different levels of autism? There are 3 different levels of autism, specifically the level of support needed by different people. The levels are level 1 requiring support, level 2 requiring substantial support, and level 3 requiring substantial support, and level 3 requiring very substantial support. And this diagram is of the 3 levels of the autism spectrum disorder. What is level 1 autism? Level 1 autism is the most mild level of the autism spectrum disorder. People with level 1 autism experience challenges with communicating and interacting with others. They need support, but not as much as people with level 2 and level 3 autism. And this photo is of the characteristics of level 1 autism. What is level 2 autism? Level 2 autism is the moderate level of autism and can also be called the middle level. People with this level require more consistent, structured support than people with level 1 autism. This is a photos explaining what stage 2 autism is. also known as level 2 autism. Stage 2 autism includes noticeable changes, limited interaction, substantial support is required for daily life, significant effects across various aspects of daily life, social, school, and home. Personalized therapy is needed for progress. Level 3 autism is the most severe level. People with level 3 autism experience profound struggles with social communication and interaction, as well as significant difficulties with behavioral flexibility and adapting to changes. The level 3 autism symptoms are severe social communication challenges, restrictive and repetitive behaviors, extreme difficulty coping, sensory challenges, and difficulty communicating with few to no words. Statistics show that 1 out of 31, 3.2% of children aged 8 are born with autism. Statistics show that boys are 3.4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls are. Statistics show that children of color are more likely to be diagnosed with autism than children who are white. Approximately 1 in 45 adults in the U.S. have autism. In 2021, it was discovered that over 60 million people have autism. Autism is a very real struggle for all ages, but with the right support, you can handle it well. Being diagnosed with autism at a young age can allow you to get the help you need to better function in the long run. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 5. Ever since then, I've had the support I needed to better function, and am now doing very well, although I do still have some struggles. With the right support network, people with autism can function very well in the real world, like I am. Thank you for your time.
I stopped that just in the nick of time, Kara, because as you can see, it was about to recycle. I'm right at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. But think about that conclusion before we go back and check out her intro and ending. It's very courageous of her to talk about her personal challenges with autism. But as I often say in circumstances like these, many individuals who are classmates or who will watch this video online probably can identify with her topic because they might either be the same way or have family members who are autistic. Many of us might have a general idea of autism from television or movies, but that might not necessarily be accurate because we're not aware of everything that goes on with the subject matter. So now let's examine her conclusion and her intro.
My name is Kara Bowden, and this is what autism is all about. Autism is a developmental condition that affects how people interact with others, communicate, and learn. While a lot of people have autism, not everyone has the exact same level. There are also categories for the autism spectrum, and this diagram is of the autism spectrum categories. What are the different levels of autism? There are 3 different levels of autism, specifically the level of support needed by different people. The levels are level 1 requiring support, level 2 requiring substantial support, and level 3 requiring substantial support, and level 3 requiring very substantial support. This diagram is of the 3 levels of the autism spectrum disorder.
Then she moves on to her next slide. Before we go to her conclusion, look at the level of concentration that Kara has, the level of confidence. If I wanted to give a little piece of friendly advice, it would be look up towards the camera a little more, but it really all depends upon where your webcam is in relation to your slides. Some of them may be built into your computer or laptop devices, or it may be like my camera. It's not necessarily attached to the computer, but it is on separately. She does a really thorough job of explaining different stages or levels of autism For the uninitiated, something like this is absolutely crucial to identify with the subject matter, including the statistics. So let's pick it up from here with her last minute of the wildcard speech.
Aged 8 are born with autism. Statistics show that boys are 3.4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls are. Statistics show that children of color are more likely to be diagnosed with autism than children who are white. Approximately 1 in 45 adults in the U.S. have autism. In 2021, it was discovered that over 60 million people have autism. Autism is a very real struggle for all ages, but with the right support, you can handle it well. Being diagnosed with autism at a young age can allow you to get the help you need to better function in the long run. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 5. Ever since then, I've had the support I needed to better function, and am now doing very well, although I do still have some struggles. With the right support network, people with autism can function very well in the real world, like I am. Thank you for your time.
So again, luckily I got it right on 3 minutes and 57 seconds. One thing that she does that I really like is she has a consistent location, not only for her webcam, but also for the timer. If I'm in a class like this, I'm probably going to always have the timer on the screen. When you go into the Loom settings, you can either have the timer, which is directly underneath this timeline, on or not. I probably would do it, whether in some cases I am playing it forwards or in some instances this year or other years, you're noticing that students are starting it at 5 and working in reverse order. Now some of her design consistency. In reverse order from conclusion to some of the statistics, which are very helpful if we don't necessarily understand the relevance of the numbers. Level 3 autism with the bullet points, allowing her to remain extemporaneous, and then continuing to move back to stage 2 autism, something with which we may not necessarily be aware. Some of the uninitiated might not necessarily realize there are different levels and different stages of autism, which is what she is going to be describing right here with that visual. Now, even though we can't necessarily see it, we have all of the headlines within the bubble, and she's going to be talking about those with as much depth or detail as she thinks is appropriate, such as right here. Now, this one's much clearer, and that's why you always want to double and triple check to make certain that the best quality visuals are going to be easily readable to an audience. And she explains those well. As much data as necessary to allow an audience, without being overwhelmed, to realize some of the categories of the autism spectrum wheel, which I think she did nicely. And then moving back eventually to her title slide, set up very well with confidence, obviously showing. So, Kara, nice job. We're going to move on to our next speaker of the day, and that is Ms. Easter. As of class time, I still did not have her self-evaluation speech critique, but I'm going to go ahead and play her speech. This is the 4th wildcard presentation of the day. It reminds me of what we had last year for a presentation that was demonstrative in nature on DIY slime. This one is titled How to Make Foam Slime, and here it is. So let me go ahead and pause that. I had a little bit of a time issue on my computer, so this one automatically did resync. Let's go ahead. I was thinking when we were playing her video clip, eventually with the color chosen for the foam slime, it has the consistency before they put the beads on it of bubble gum. But let's look at her first minute for the complete sentence structure. Her webcam is upper right. On occasion, as she transitions in that first minute to the video clip, her delivery can be slightly hesitant, but still coming across as more confident. I'm going to be talking about her video clip in just a moment, but let's go beyond the video and check out from this point the end of her speech. The one thing I would do, though, in your case, is to find a place to keep your webcam and don't have it jump around as much because that can be a little bit distracting. I do like the creative nature of your slides, the fact that some of them are focusing on different types of images, which allow you to remain extemporaneous. The only piece of constructive criticism I would have is if we go back right here, mute the audio, take the closed captioning off, and watch in real time her transition to the video clip. If you wanted to play this into higher video, that would be fine, but you have to be really careful that the video doesn't give the speech for you. I've talked about that on more than one occasion over the past 19 class sessions. If you want to play that video as much as you are here, what is probably most preferable is to mute the narrator and then talk yourself over some of these particular visuals instead of letting the narrator talk for so long a period of time. Let's go ahead and pause it, move back to the end of your presentation, examining some of the slides that you used, including the products right here, which reinforce everything that is discussed during the process with the activator and also through the video with the water, the clear glue, the pictures of the products, and the steps. I'd probably take this font size and make it just a little bit bigger to make it more easily readable, but it's a small point. Her level of concentration is very obvious when you're looking at her webcam. I wouldn't move it around, but I think in total, you're continuing to improve as a speaker. We've had 4 wild card speeches so far, but we still have 2 more speeches to go. And it's for this reason. You'll remember from our course speech schedule that there is a 9th person in this course whose name is Charles. He's had some connectivity issues during the term, but Charles, I wanted you to know for the record that the data that you sent me with all of the links to your speeches is right here. So we're going to show Charles' wildcard speech first, which is basically introducing himself to the class. Then we will read his self-evaluation speech critique, and I will also, for the record, play his persuasive speech. His demonstrative and informative speeches are going to be evaluated by me over the weekend, but just for the sake of time, I'm not going to play them on this instructor course video. We'll do the wild card speech first, then his self-evaluation speech critique, then his persuasive speech. So let me introduce you to Charles. This is the link to his wild card speech. So this is a bit unusual in that the first presentation you see from a student is actually the last speech, but I wanted to do it in this sequence. Introduce him to the class, then go back to his self-evaluation speech critique, and also play the persuasive. So here's Charles discussing himself. A little about me. It's appropriate in Charles' case that he decided to talk about himself for a wildcard speech because he's introducing himself to the class. And just notice where I pause that. He has a very likable persona. And Charles, I know that you were concerned about getting everything turned in, which is why, for the record, I put that page that you provided with all of your links to the speeches. You're not the first person to ever have some connectivity issues, and certainly won't be the last. But again, I like that freeze frame because it shows his sincerity as a public speaker. The only piece of advice I would probably give him is to possibly move the webcam to a different location or maybe have a ring light, but it's not going to have any bearing on his grade. As with everyone else, first and last minute of the presentation, closed captioning up, let's examine the complete sentence structure of Charles. And then he continues to talk about some of the folks who are in these photos, which is why it's nice to have closed captioning on the screen. If you ever want to talk about yourself, this is certainly one way to go about it. But he's speaking in a complete sentence structure. He has a easygoing style on camera, which for those of you who grew up in the social media generation, being on camera or being on webcam so much or posting online to social media platforms makes perfect sense. So let's pick it up in real time, just continue to play it and check out his conclusion. What you notice is closed captioning is very fickle. And on more than one occasion, he actually was uttering some vocalics because you saw the uhs pop up on the screen. So now, looking at his slides, very photocentric, which gives him the opportunity to talk as much or as little about any of these photos, whether it's the national contributions, whether it's the head of the Martin Luther King Committee, whether it's community service, which is not unusual for those of you who are members of fraternities or sororities, campus involvement, that's a big part of life at Southern Arkansas University. and then continuing to go back to the contributions in Greek life, and then eventually we get to the title slide with the introduction about himself. Again, very likable style, very telegenic. The camera never lies, and take that from someone who's been involved with media most of my adult life. I wanted to show you Charles' wildcard speech first before we saw his self-evaluation speech critique. Then we will go to his persuasive speech. This is going to, in a moment, show you Charles' self-evaluation speech critique. Here's what he has to say. Quote, "Hello, my name is Charles Prince, and I'd like to reflect on my experience in this public speaking course. Public speaking has never been foreign to me. I've encountered it in many stages of life. From reading poems in church to giving speeches in school to now leading clubs and organizations. In a practical sense, speaking in front of people has always felt like second nature. However, this class and my history with it have been a very different experience. The first time I took Intro to Public Speaking, it was in person. Unfortunately, I had to drop the class. Fast forward to Summer Session 1, 2025, and I found myself re-enrolling, hoping for a fresh start. This time, my challenges weren't personal. They were my own shortcomings. At first, I didn't know how to access the assignments, and like you said, that's no excuse. Once I reached out and you emailed me back with guidance, I was filled with determination not to let this second chance go to waste. When I opened the tab you sent and saw all the videos, I felt overwhelmed, but still determined. Then I hit another roadblock, technology. My device, a 2015 Samsung Chromebook, was extremely outdated. I couldn't use Lockdown Browser or other basic tools required for most classes. I quickly realized I wouldn't be able to use Loom to record my speeches, and that crushed me. But I didn't give up. I asked my family for help, and while I waited for a solution, I stayed committed by watching the class videos and learning the material. Eventually, I was able to put together enough money to get a new device. It was a huge relief, but the journey wasn't over yet. I still had to record the speeches. Looking back at my first few recordings, I see growth. I was rushing, nervous, and my delivery felt uneasy. My slides were simple, and my presence lacked confidence. But over time, I got calmer and more precise with my words. I became more comfortable, and I started to enjoy the process. Ironically, I found it harder to speak to a screen than to a live audience, something I never expected. If there's one major lesson I've learned from taking this course, it's the importance of technology. I had never relied on digital tools before and assumed I'd be fine. But I quickly learned how essential they are in a modern communication setting. Loom, in particular, turned out to be a fantastic platform, one I'll definitely use and recommend going forward. In closing, I don't want this reflection to sound like a sob story. I just wanted to share my honest experience. I truly appreciate the chance you gave me to complete these assignments. And even if I don't pass the class, I gain something more important: growth, awareness, and a deeper understanding of what it means to adapt and communicate in today's world. My family and I even bonded while watching your class videos together, and for that, I'm truly grateful. Thank you. Charles, as long as you have turned in all your speeches, and you can go back and watch this video and see the verification that all of those links were sent, as well as this self-evaluation speech critique. Honesty in all of these paragraphs is very important because that's how you can improve as a speaker. The time issues are minor because in the long run, the most important thing is how you're learning from this particular course. Now we are going to show a second speech from Charles. I will be grading, Charles, the other two speeches, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, but I wanted to put at least two of your speeches on an instructor course video. The wild card speech intentionally first, and then just backtracking 1 week to your persuasive speech. And this is titled The Ultimate Showdown, Batman versus Superman. Transcript with the purple bubbles on the right-hand side, but this is what Charles had to say for his persuasive speech. The one thing you know for certain from this persuasive speech is Charles knows the subject of Batman and Superman really well. I did, before we check out his beginning and conclusion for structure and persona, is an obvious issue with the webcam because you're moving it around, and what you would probably want to do in the future, Charles, when you're putting your slides together, have in the back of your mind game planning where you want to put your webcam and not move it around. So keep in mind, those of you who remember me earlier in the term, I would start with my webcam here and literally move it over to the right hand side. Now I just keep it bottom right. In his case, because he's got visuals all over the place, I would take my webcam, if I'm him, and put it right here in the upper right hand corner where there's going to be a lot of dead space. And that way you don't have to move it around because it gets really distracting. Here is his first minute with closed captioning and his persona on camera. And by the way, also, you can manipulate the size of your webcam, but in his case, I would probably put it, like I said, in the upper right-hand corner because he's got all different kinds of quality text and images throughout. I mentioned this during his wildcard speech. He may be locked into place with his webcam so he can't move, but in the future, Charles, it's best to move to a location where there's nothing behind you that's lit because it creates a silhouette effect. And ideally, a webcam would come into play as well. Got no bearing on your grade here, but it's something to consider. Here is his exact final minute with closed captioning up for the complete sentence structure, looking at his persona on the webcam. Charles has a nice conversational style. Again, he is telegenic, so that's not really an issue. He has an ease on camera, something that I've continually discussed over the past few weeks during the instructor course videos. But you will have to work on the vocalics because I am hearing a few uhs, and they did come across on the closed captioning. Let's now return to Blackboard, and I will place this in the student preview mode so we can look at this one final time. I have a number of items on the screen, so I'm just waiting for it to recycle, which is why there's a slight time delay. When you are at this location, checking out the grade book, I don't know exactly when I will be posting these scores. You should have access to Blackboard until at least Friday night at 11:59 p.m. However, also remember that grades will be posted on Campus Connect for the semester officially no later than Monday of next week at 10 a.m. The possibility exists that all of your scores may not necessarily be posted here whenever you lose access to Blackboard. Don't worry about it, but double check your files to make certain that I have all 4 of your speeches and your self-evaluation speech critiques, which is why I'm going to return to look at the syllabus itself. From this location, keep in mind our point allocations. And that's why it's important to double check to make certain that everything has been submitted. To the best of my knowledge, all of you have completed the 4 major graded speeches at this point. Demonstrative 20, informative worth 20, persuasive worth 20, and the wild card at 20 with 80 out of the 100. The final 20 points being, of course, the self-evaluation speech critique, and most of you will get an easy 10 points for that, as well as 10 points for class participation. For a summer 125 total of 100 points with the 90, 80, 70 grading procedure always in place. And then with our course itinerary, we are officially wrapping up the 19 class sessions with wildcard speech day 1 yesterday and wildcard speech day 2 today. And then at least for the next 24 to 48 hours, you should be able to examine the instructor course videos with session 19 being right down here. And also, you will have access when you go back to my instructor information. At the SAU Mass Communication website, there is a link to my YouTube channel. So even though the videos, when they're uploaded from Loom, they don't look exactly the same, any presentations that I put on there that are from Loom, your individual wildcard or persuasive or informative or persuasive speeches look exactly the same on my YouTube channel as they do in class. Some of you have sent me both YouTube links for your speeches, or you've sent me any kind of file that I could easily download. But as you can see, we try to be as thorough as possible for all of you to improve as public speakers. I will conclude today's session by coming back to me. You'll see me at my Loom library. It's not unusual that session 19 in my public speaking course, the instructor course video is usually one of the longest because I want to make certain there is no misunderstanding or confusion about any of your projects. I'm a media person. I believe in transparency, which is why all of my graded video materials are optional for anyone to see. They're always available online. And I think it's really helpful for all of you to examine through those self-evaluation speech critiques everyone's speeches, whether it's on an instructor course video, whether it's a recorded take that you decide not to show and you send me something else instead. It's been rewarding to look at your improvement, and keep this in mind as I wrap things up. Your abilities as a public speaker, first and foremost, are going to rely on content, then delivery, then visuals, and that's why I have the checklist for the SAU speech critique in such a way that you're building point by point, brick by brick, so the final product is as good as you can make it. It's very challenging to do this in a relatively compact period of time, which is why I indicated at the outset that I, as an undergraduate student, also took my basic public speaking course during the summer at North Dakota State University. It focuses the mind. So don't get hung up on little mistakes that you may make with grammar, syntax, or vocalics, but be aware of them, and also be aware of what you look like on camera. As I did at the conclusion of yesterday's remarks, I always joke about the glass, which is obscuring me now, being half full, even though it's almost empty. So good luck as you carry on with your public speaking endeavors, either in a graded, non-graded, real life capacity. The way in which you speak, the way in which you carry yourself, the way in which you organize your visuals are really going to assist you in having a quality, long-term persona as a public speaker. It really does matter. So I appreciate all the hard work you've placed into these 4 major graded speeches and the wildcard speech critiques. Like I said a moment ago, I can't guarantee that by the time you lose access to Blackboard in the next 48 hours, that all of our speech grades will be posted for either a wildcard or for the self-evaluation speech critique. But as a rule, all of us should do really well, knock on table, which is not wood. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session of 2025, that concludes our final course session for the term. I wish all of you the best, and I usually wrap this up by saying 2 things. Best of luck in your respective academic careers, whether you're at Southern Arkansas University or elsewhere. I will also say something like no vocalics, always be aware of that, and 1001, 1002, 1003. So if you're recording in the future, give yourself a little bit of air at the conclusion. But thank you for all of your hard work. And that, as they say, and I don't know who they are, is a wrap. Best of luck to all of you in your academic careers.